The Last Stand. Dr. Sarah Chen stared through the reinforced observation window at patient zero. The man's skin had turned ashen, dark veins sprawling across his body like a twisted roadmap. Another failed attempt at fighting the Vex plague. She pressed her palm against the cold glass, watching as medical drones administered painkillers to ease his passing. This was the 17th death today, the 43rd this week, the 10,000th since the plague first appeared 6 months ago. The Vex had emerged from deep space with technology centuries beyond humanity's reach. They hadn't come with weapons or armies. Instead, they brought microscopic machines, nanites that rewrote organic matter at its most fundamental level. Their message was simple. Organic life was inefficient. Extinction was mercy. The quarantine facility beneath Mount Cheyenne housed humanity's last hope, the Lazarus Project. Here, in chambers carved from solid rock, the remnants of Earth's greatest minds worked tirelessly to find a solution. But time was running out. The plague had already claimed 60% of the world's population. Sarah returned to her lab, where holographic displays showed genetic sequences from survivors. There had to be something she was missing. Some pattern in the DNA of those few who lasted longer against the plague. Her fingers danced across the neural interface, sifting through terabytes of genetic data. Dr. Chen. The voice belonged to Marcus Webb, her research partner. The council is demanding updates. They're talking about implementing the Omega Protocol. Sarah's hands froze over the interface. The Omega Protocol, a last resort plan to preserve a small fraction of humanity in cryogenic storage, hoping some future generation might find a cure. Accepting defeat. We're not there yet, she said, her voice steady despite the exhaustion. Look at this. She gestured at one of the displays, expanding a genetic sequence. These survivors, their telomeres are different. The plague takes longer to corrupt their cellular structure. Marcus leaned closer, his eyes reflecting the blue glow of the hologram. That's not just resistance, he said slowly. Their cells are actually adapting, evolving. Sarah nodded, excitement building in her chest. The Vex made a mistake. They thought they were delivering extinction, but they gave us something else. A catalyst. Their nanites don't just destroy organic matter. They reorganize it. What if we could control that reorganization? She pulled up another display, this one showing the molecular structure of the Vex nanites. We've been trying to destroy them, but what if that's wrong? What if we could reprogram them instead? The idea was audacious, insane, even. But they were past the point where conventional solutions would save them. We'd need volunteers, Marcus said. People willing to risk everything. Sarah looked back through the observation window at patient zero, now covered with a sheet. We already have them. Everyone here is already dying. The question is whether they want to die fighting or die waiting. Over the next 72 hours, Sarah and her team worked without rest. They modified the nanite programming, incorporating the adaptive properties they discovered in the survivors' DNA. The theory was elegant in its simplicity. Instead of fighting the transformation, they would guide it. Colonel James Harper was their first volunteer. The military commander had lost his entire family to the plague and carried the infection himself. He had perhaps 2 days left. I understand the risks, he said as medical techs prepared him for the procedure. But I spent my life defending humanity. I'm not about to stop now. Sarah initiated the procedure herself. Through the observation window, she watched as modified nanites were introduced into Harper's bloodstream. For several minutes, nothing seemed to happen. Then his body began to convulse. Life signs critical, a medtech announced. Cellular breakdown accelerating. Sarah gripped the edge of her console. She had killed him. She had killed humanity's last hope. Then Harper's vital signs stabilized. More than stabilized, they strengthened. His heart rate settled into a powerful rhythm. The dark veins beneath his skin began to fade, replaced by a subtle silvery sheen. When Harper opened his eyes, they had changed. Flecks of silver danced in his irises like distant stars. How do you feel? Sarah asked through the intercom. Harper sat up, staring at his hands as if seeing them for the first time. Strong, he said. I feel more. The monitors confirmed it. Harper's cellular structure had not just survived the plague. It had incorporated the nanites, creating something entirely new, something that was neither fully human nor machine, but a perfect synthesis of both. Sarah Chen looked at the data streaming across her screens and felt, for the first time in months, something she had almost forgotten. Hope. Humanity wouldn't just survive, it would evolve. The war for survival had just begun. The Crucible. News of Colonel Harper's transformation spread through the underground facility like wildfire. Within hours, hundreds of infected volunteers lined up outside the medical bay, each willing to risk everything for a chance at survival. But Sarah Chen knew better than to rush. Every detail of Harper's changing physiology needed to be studied, understood, and documented. 3 days after his transformation, Harper demonstrated why such caution was necessary. During a routine physical assessment, he accidentally crushed a steel medical instrument like it was made of paper. Hours later, he found he could process complex mathematical equations instantly, his enhanced mind working at speeds that rivaled quantum computers. The nanites aren't just healing us, Harper explained during one of his evaluation sessions. They're rebuilding us from the inside out. Every cell, every neuron, it's all being optimized. Sarah watched through reinforced glass as Harper underwent stress tests. His skin had taken on a subtle metallic sheen, and his muscles moved with an efficiency that seemed almost supernatural. But it was his eyes that had changed the most, pools of liquid silver that seemed to see beyond the visible spectrum. We need to proceed with more transformations, Marcus argued during their daily briefing. The plague is spreading faster than ever. We're losing thousands every hour. Sarah understood the urgency, but the scientist in her demanded caution. Harper's transformation succeeded because we got the programming exactly right. One mistake in the nanite coding could create something worse than the plague. But time wasn't on their side. The Vex had been silent since delivering their plague, but orbital sensors detected increased activity at the edge of the solar system. They were watching, waiting to see if their extinction protocol would succeed. The next wave of transformations began with a group of 20 volunteers. Among them was Dr. Maya Patel, a quantum physicist who had been working on communication systems when the plague hit. Unlike Harper's transformation, not all of these succeeded. 8 died within the first hour, their bodies rejecting the modified nanites. 5 more suffered partial transformations that left them in agony, forcing the medical team to euthanize them. But seven emerged changed. Maya's transformation proved especially remarkable. While Harper's enhancements had manifested primarily in physical and computational abilities, Maya developed something else entirely. She could perceive and manipulate quantum fields directly, her consciousness expanding into realms of reality previously accessible only through complex machinery. It's like seeing the source code of the universe, she tried to explain, her silver eyes pulsing with energy. Every probability, every possible state of matter and energy, it's all there, waiting to be shaped. The survivors began calling themselves the Forge-born, acknowledging the crucible of near extinction that had birthed them. Each displayed different combinations of enhanced abilities, as if the nanites were adapting to individual potential rather than following a single template. But it was what happened next that truly changed everything. During a joint training session, Harper and Maya discovered they could communicate without speaking. At first, they thought it was some form of telepathy, but Sarah's instruments revealed something far more profound. The nanites in their bodies had established a quantum network, allowing for instantaneous sharing of thoughts, memories, and experiences. "This is how we fight back," Harper said, his silver eyes gleaming with purpose. "The Vex thought they were delivering our extinction, but they gave us the tools for our rebirth. We're becoming something they couldn't predict. A species that combines human creativity and determination with capabilities beyond anything they imagined." Sarah watched as the Forge-born trained together, learning to harness their new abilities. The quantum network between them grew stronger with each passing day, creating a collective intelligence that retained individual identity while sharing knowledge and experience instantly. But their time was running out. The plague continued to spread above ground, and the Vex ships were moving closer to Earth. Humanity needed more than a handful of transformed survivors. They needed an army. "We have to scale up the transformations," Sarah announced to the facilities council. "And we need to do it now." The risks were enormous. Large-scale transformation could result in massive casualties. But as Sarah looked at the 7 Forgeborn standing before the council, she saw humanity's future. In their silver eyes burned not just power, but purpose, the unshakable human will to survive, now armed with the capability to make that will reality. The crucible that would forge humanity's future was about to burn hotter than ever before. The awakening. The transformation chamber hummed with energy as Sarah Chen initiated the mass conversion protocol. 100 volunteers lay in medical pods, each connected to a network of machines that would introduce the modified nanites into their systems. The chamber's walls, reinforced with quantum dampening fields, contained the raw power of what was about to unfold. Synchronization at 98%, Maya announced, her silver eyes flickering as she monitored the quantum fields surrounding each pod. She stood beside Harper, both of them now serving as anchors for the new initiates. The network is ready. The existing Forgeborn had discovered that their quantum network could help stabilize new transformations. By extending their collective consciousness to the volunteers, they could guide them through the process, increasing survival rates dramatically. Sarah took a deep breath and activated the sequence, initiating transformation in 3, 2, 1. The chamber filled with a silver light as nanites flooded through the delivery systems. Unlike the earlier transformations, this time the process was synchronized across all pods, creating a cascade effect that Maya claimed was visible in quantum space. Through the observation window, Sarah watched as the volunteers' bodies began to change. Their skin took on the characteristic metallic sheen, muscles and bones restructuring themselves at the cellular level. But it was their minds that underwent the most dramatic transformation. The quantum network exploded with activity. 100 new consciousness merged into the collective, each bringing their own unique perspective and abilities. The sudden surge of connecting minds was so powerful that even Sarah, fully human, felt its echo. 87 survived the transformation. It was a better ratio than they had dared hope for, and each survivor emerged stronger than the previous generation of Forgeborn. The nanites were learning, adapting, improving their integration with human physiology. Among the new transformed was Dr. Thomas Rivera, a theoretical physicist who had been working on dark matter research before the plague. As his silver eyes opened for the first time, the quantum network registered something unprecedented. "The void," he gasped, his voice resonating with newfound power. "I can see it. The space between spaces. The Vex. They travel through it." Harper and Maya helped him sit up, their minds linking to share his vision. Through their connected consciousness, Sarah watched as they unraveled the mystery of Vex technology. The aliens hadn't just mastered space travel. They had learned to step outside normal spacetime, using what Thomas called void corridors to move instantly across vast distances. This is how they spread the plague so quickly, Maya realized, her quantum senses confirming Thomas's discovery. They're not just in orbit. They have void points throughout Earth's atmosphere, dispersing nanites through microscopic ruptures in spacetime. The revelation changed everything. The Vex weren't just waiting to see if their plague would succeed. They were actively maintaining it, feeding it through a network of spatial tiers too small to detect with conventional technology. But the Forgeborn were far from conventional. "We can seal the ruptures," Thomas said, his mind already calculating possibilities through the quantum network. "Better yet, we can use them." The void corridors work both ways. The implications hit Sarah like a thunderbolt. The transformed humans weren't just fighting for survival anymore. They had the potential to take the fight directly to the Vex. Over the next week, more transformations followed. Each new group of Forgeborn brought new capabilities, new insights. Some developed the ability to manipulate gravitational fields. Others could process and analyze data faster than supercomputers. A few showed signs of being able to project their consciousness through the quantum network, exploring distant locations without physical movement. But it was their collective capability that proved most remarkable. The quantum network between them grew more sophisticated with each addition, creating a shared consciousness that retained individual identity while allowing instantaneous communication and coordination. They were becoming something that transcended both human and machine, a new form of life that combined the best aspects of both. The Vex noticed. Their void points began emitting new forms of energy, attempting to disrupt the quantum network. Orbital sensors detected increased activity as more ships emerged from deep space. "They're afraid," Harper said during an emergency council meeting. His silver eyes blazed with fierce determination. "They realized their weapon didn't just fail. It gave us exactly what we needed to fight back." Sarah looked at the assembled Forgeborn, now numbering over 300. In their silver eyes, she saw not just power, but purpose. The unshakable human will to survive had been armed with capabilities beyond anything their enemies had anticipated. The time for mere survival was over. Humanity was about to show the Vex exactly what they had created in their attempt to destroy it. The real war was about to begin. Breach. The Void Map, as the Forgeborn called it, spread across the command center in shimmering layers of quantum light. Maya and Thomas stood at its center, their silver eyes pulsing as they maintained the complex visualization. Through their shared consciousness, 300 transformed humans observed the intricate network of spatial tiers the Vex had created throughout Earth's atmosphere. "Each rupture is like a thread," Thomas explained to Sarah, who watched in fascination as the quantum display shifted. "Pull on one, and you can follow it back to its source." Colonel Harper stepped through the holographic display, his enhanced mind processing the patterns. The void corridors all lead to 7 primary nexus points in orbit. Their fleet clusters around these positions. They're using them as anchor points for their entire operation. Sarah studied the tactical implications. The Vex ships, previously thought to be merely waiting, were actually maintaining the plague's delivery system. But their discovery had revealed something else, a vulnerability. "If we can access these corridors," Maya said, her voice resonating with possibility, "we can take the fight directly to them. No need for conventional space travel. No need for ships." The plan that emerged was audacious. The Forgeborn would use their quantum abilities to widen the microscopic tiers, creating passages large enough for them to step through. They would emerge directly aboard the Vex vessels, bringing the war to an enemy that had never expected to face human resistance in their own domain. But first, they needed to understand what they were truly facing. Dr. Rivera had made another breakthrough. Through the quantum network, he had deciphered fragments of Vex communication. "They're not just machines," he revealed during the War Council. "They're a collective consciousness that abandoned biological form eons ago. They see organic life as inefficient, messy. Their plague wasn't just about extinction. It was about proving their philosophy correct." Sarah watched as the transformed humans prepared for battle. Their silver skin rippled with barely contained energy as they practiced manipulating the quantum fields around them. Through their shared network, they moved with perfect coordination, each individual's strengths complementing the others. The assault was planned for dawn. 300 Forgeborn, divided into strike teams, would simultaneously breach 7 Vex vessels. Their goal wasn't just to destroy. It was to access the alien's central consciousness and end the plague at its source. In the hours before the attack, Sarah worked with Maya to finalize the void corridor calculations. The transformed physicist's consciousness stretched through quantum space, mapping safe passages through the spatial tiers. "We've evolved beyond what they intended," Maya said, her silver eyes fixed on realities Sarah couldn't perceive. "They wanted to prove organic life was inferior. but they gave us the tools to surpass even their own evolution. Harper gathered the strike teams for a final briefing. Through their quantum network, each Forgeborn could access the complete tactical plan, understanding their role with perfect clarity. They had become something unprecedented, a human collective that retained individual creativity and will while sharing a unified purpose. The Vex thought they were delivering our extinction. Harper addressed the assembled warriors, his voice carrying through both air and quantum space. Instead, they forced us to transcend our limitations. We are no longer just human, but we carry humanity's greatest strengths with us. Our adaptability, our determination, our unwillingness to accept defeat. The moment of attack arrived with the first light of dawn. Maya and Thomas, working in perfect synchronization with other quantum-sensitive Forgeborn, began to widen the spatial tiers. The void corridors dilated, transforming from microscopic ruptures into shimmering portals of quantum energy. Sarah watched from the command center as the strike teams moved into position. Their silver forms rippled with power, the quantum network between them humming with shared purpose. On her screens, she could track their vital signs. Each heartbeat, each surge of enhanced neurons, each pulse of nanite-infused blood. Breach in 3. Harper's voice resonated through the quantum network. 2. 1. The Forgeborn stepped through the portals, crossing the void between Earth and the Vex fleet in an instant. Through their shared consciousness, Sarah caught glimpses of alien corridors, of crystalline structures housing machine intelligence, of the cold, perfect geometry of beings that had abandoned the chaos of organic life. The war for humanity's future had entered its final phase, and the Vex were about to learn that perfection wasn't achieved by abandoning organic life, but by embracing its potential to evolve. Ascension. The interior of the Vex mothership was a cathedral of crystalline computing, every surface alive with flowing data. Through the quantum network, Sarah watched as the Forgeborn emerged from void corridors throughout the vessel, their silver forms reflecting the alien light. The Vex, for the first time in their existence, knew surprise. Maya's consciousness stretched through the ship's systems, her quantum senses interpreting the alien architecture. Their collective consciousness, it's beautiful, she transmitted through the network. But it's rigid, perfect, unchanging. The Vex responded to the invasion with ruthless efficiency. Defensive systems activated, flooding corridors with energy fields designed to disrupt any form of organic life. But the Forgeborn were no longer purely organic. Their nanite-enhanced bodies adapted, absorbing the energy, using it to grow stronger. Harper led the primary strike team toward the ship's core, where the Vex collective consciousness was anchored in arrays of quantum crystals. Thomas moved alongside him, his enhanced mind decoding the alien data streams that flowed around them. "They're trying to understand us," Thomas reported, his silver eyes pulsing as he processed the information. "They can't comprehend how we survived, how we turned their weapon against them." The first direct confrontation came in a vast chamber that seemed to exist partially outside normal spacetime. Vex combat units emerged from quantum foam, their forms shifting between states of matter and energy. They were beings that had transcended physical limitation, existing as pure information given form. But the Forgeborn had transcended their own limitations. Maya and her team of quantum specialists created counterfields, stabilizing reality around them. Other transformed humans engaged the Vex directly, their enhanced bodies and shared consciousness, allowing them to anticipate and counter attacks that came from multiple dimensions simultaneously. Through it all, Sarah maintained her connection to the quantum network from the Earth Command Center, her human mind struggling to process the scale of the battle she witnessed. The Forgeborn weren't just fighting, they were rewriting the rules of reality itself. In the core chamber, Harper and Thomas reached the central crystal array. Here, the Vex collective consciousness took physical form, a shifting matrix of light and information that held the accumulated knowledge of a species that had abandoned organic life eons ago. The matrix spoke directly into their minds. "You prove our hypothesis incorrect," it communicated. Organic life was deemed inefficient, incapable of true optimization. This outcome was not predicted. "That was your mistake," Harper responded, his consciousness resonating through the quantum network, carrying his words to every forge-born and back to Sarah. "You thought perfection meant eliminating the chaos of organic life. But it's that chaos, that ability to adapt, to change, to evolve, that makes us strong." Maya's team joined them in the core, their combined quantum abilities allowing them to interface directly with the Vex consciousness. Through their connection, Sarah witnessed the exchange of information that followed, millennia of Vex knowledge flowing into the quantum network, while the essence of human experience flowed back. "Your solution is elegant," the Vex consciousness acknowledged. "Synthesis rather than replacement. Evolution rather than extinction. We miscalculated." Thomas stepped forward, his enhanced mind processing the vast streams of data. "The plague," he said. "You can end it. Not just on Earth, but everywhere you've spread it. The protocol cannot be reversed." The Vex responded. "But it can be redirected." Understanding flowed through the quantum network. The nanites that formed the plague couldn't be deactivated, but they could be reprogrammed, just as Sarah and her team had done, but on a global scale. "Give humanity the choice," Sarah transmitted from Earth, her voice carrying through the network. "Let each person decide whether to remain human or to transform. Evolution shouldn't be forced. It should be embraced willingly." The Vex consciousness pulsed with what might have been agreement, a new paradigm, organic and synthetic, chaos and order, a path we had not considered. Around the world, the plague began to change. The nanites stopped their destructive work, becoming dormant, waiting for conscious acceptance before beginning transformation. In orbit, Vex ships shifted formation, moving from attack positions to a new configuration. "We will watch," the consciousness communicated. "We will learn. Perhaps we will evolve as well." As the Forge-born returned to Earth through the void corridors, Sarah looked at the data streaming across her screens. The plague's death toll had stopped rising. Around the world, the transformed and untransformed would now work together to rebuild, to explore the potential of their new existence. Humanity had not just survived. It had shown a hostile universe that evolution didn't mean abandoning what made them human. It meant embracing change while keeping their essential nature. Their creativity, their determination, and their capacity to face extinction itself and forge it into transformation. In the command center, Sarah watched as Harper, Maya, and the other Forge-born emerged from the void corridors. Their silver eyes held not just power now, but wisdom. The understanding that humanity's greatest strength had always been its ability to change while remaining true to itself. The age of humanity had not ended. It had only begun.